Welcome to the Heartfelt Business Path Chats. Jane Bromley of Honey Moon Vineyard. Jane is a vigneron and winemaker in the beautiful Adelaide Hills, and she runs her artisanal wine brand with her partner Hilton McLean. And it is an absolute pleasure to have you here for a chat today, Jane.
Thank you, Jess.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So, how about we start with your story to now, your background and what sort of got you here into the wine game and what you do, with it.
Okay, well, here goes. So as you said, I'm a grape grower and vigneron and co-owner of Honey Moon Vineyard, which Hilton and I established. So he's my partner and business partner in life and business partner. And we established ourselves here as grape growers and winemakers in 2004. So it's been 21 years this year. Wow.
Yeah,
Um,
wow.
so in a nutshell, I guess, if I was to go a little nutshell, I'm actually an ex-plant scientist who embraced another career or two, to end up growing grapes and making wine that I've been doing now for over 20 years. But it's been a long and winding pathway, but it's funny when I think of it, wine has been sort of a long and enduring thread throughout my young life and my adult life. So my childhood was spent in a hotel that my father owned just north of the Barossa. It was a lovely country pub and it was also our home. Um, and I still have really vivid memories, it was such a long time ago, of going with him to the local wineries to get stock and really falling in love with the smell, the aroma of fermentation. And I think really that association of those aromas with happy times. He was a not fun guy. It was, it was a thing you did if you were a good girl. You got to go out with Dad to do, buying the stock, and there was an ice cream at the end of the day and everything. So that connection of, I think, fermentation aromas and happy times has stuck with me or ever since. But I think at that time, as a little kid, I think there was a little pip, a little, great pip that kind of lodged in me. And it's a pip of the career that I've now have in this sort of wine business that I'm in. It sort of got lodged inside my little heart when I was a child, I think. But I definitely started out on a different path. So I was drawn to the sciences at school. I was good at maths. I was good at physics and chemistry. They were my thing. So I ended up doing a science degree. And then that actually led into two really interesting careers in the university sector. The first one was when I was a research scientist as part of a really well-funded plant physiology group. So that was my first career, was in the academic side of things. And then later I had a much longer career in the sort of professional services side of the university, with roles in policy development, legislative compliance and enterprise bargaining. And it always did surprise the people I was working with that I had this strong science background. But between those careers, I spent quite a few years working behind the scenes in the art world. So along the way, wine kept on pulling at me. So in the late 90s, I felt that little grape pip sprouted some leaves, and I ended up doing part-time studies at Adelaide Uni in wine marketing and, of course, tasting lots of wine. So then in 2001, I did my very first vintage in the Adelaide Hills it was called at Nepenthe then at Lenswood. It was a fantastic experience. And that was it. I really fell in love with the Adelaide Hills and I fell in love with making wine. So thankfully, my partner, Hilton, who's also a winemaker, he felt the same. And after a long search, we found our ideal site in the hills at Achunga, and we planted our vines in 2004. So we did that because we knew we wanted to have control of the grapes for our red wine making projects. But I don't think I ever appreciated how much I would grow to actually love the vines. They're really nice plants to have around, and they're just so interesting because of their very distinctive annual cycle and their ability to keep on going no matter what Mother Nature throws at them or us. So since that time, we've been tending to our vines, making our wines, and tending to our, the whole business of Honey Moon Vineyard. And it's been really rewarding and often hard work, and it's always evolving. But fundamentally, I know it's where I'm meant to be. So I do feel really lucky to be doing this work in such a vibrant region. I think there's a really great community of smart, committed, energetic, creative people here from all backgrounds and walks of life. So that's the longer story.
Well, I think anyone that reads your words about your vines, you talk about them like they're your babies. They're
Mm,
definitely like members of your family, aren't they?
they are, yes.
And I think what so few people realize about the wine industry is that a bottle of wine might cost them $20 or $30 on the shelf, but there's so little understanding of the craft and care that has gotten to that bottle on the
Mm,
shelf for just $20 or $30. Like no other product would probably be able to land on the shelf at that price with
mm,
the craft and care that's kind of gone into wine. It's,
mm,
but it is lovely then to hear the stories of artisanal makers, because then you really get a sense of that work.
mm.
And maybe that you don't hear those stories enough. But so tell us a little bit too, because this is a question I know you get asked a bit. Why Honey Moon Vineyard?
We do get asked that a lot, as you can imagine. Um, and it's not about a honeymoon per se, really. It's just we really noticed when we moved in here, just our topography directs you to really notice what the moon's doing. And we particularly notice how beautiful the full moons are around when you're coming up to and around Easter, whenever that falls. So that's typically we're in the middle of picking grapes, usually Pinot, sometimes Shiraz, sometimes Chardonnay, but we always noticed early on that the moon was particularly big and honey coloured, like a giant blob in the sky, and that's where Honey Moon Vineyard
Mm.
came from. But, also in a practical sense, it was like I reckon it was the 100th name I suggested to Hilton about we've got to call our business something and our property. And he just loved it from the get-go. And so that was great. So I immediately cemented it into some, the visuals. I worked with a really talented friend of mine, Kath Buddle, to design the label and the logo. And we've stuck with it ever since. But it really is a celebration of the moon and the particular landscape we have here. But when I think about it too, I guess it certainly is that we like to celebrate special occasions here, and honeymoons are certainly those as well.
Yeah, it's certainly not got any other negative connotations. It's
No,
a supremely positive name
yeah,
from
yeah,
any angle you look at it. Yeah.
yeah.
So on that note, could you tell us a little bit of what you do? What varietals you sort of
Yep.
specialize in, or what varietals you love to
Yes,
is,
yes.
I should say.
Well, so we planted Shiraz and Pinot, so two red grape varieties. And, we envisaged how we'd enjoy so much making red table wine, but I knew I wanted to make sparkling because I love sparkling wine, and also as a as a winemaking process, it's incredibly interesting. Um, but when we looked for our site, we were really looking for a site that would grow Pinot and Shiraz well if we could wing it. And so we did a lot of comparing with sites that we loved in France, for instance, the Rhone Valley and Burgundy, looked at the sort of climatic data and so on, and thought, hey, I reckon we can get away with it at Chunga. We're on quite an elevated site here, so we're at 420 metres above sea level, so it's surprisingly cool, and that certainly suits growing lovely, delicate Pinot. But we've got a very lovely site for sun interception, so sort of further up the slope, the Shiraz does really well. So we thought, oh, that's good. We'll do that. So we certainly make red table wines from our Shiraz and Pinot, but we also make two sparkling wines from those red grapes. We make a Rosé Brut Reserve, which is predominantly Pinot and a little bit of Chardonnay. And we make these days a Shiraz sparkling, which we are really happy about. But not to be outdone, we still make other things from Shiraz and Pinot. We make a fortified wine, a called classic tawny, which typically in the Australian environment, Grenache is used for that wine, but Pinot is a wonderful candidate, makes beautiful tawny wines. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. We also make a vintage port style as well that we sometimes use our Shiraz for. So that's, we play around a lot with what our vineyard gives us in terms of Pinot and Shiraz, but then we so love Chardonnay. It's such a great grape. It's the noblest of grape varieties, and it grows so beautifully in the hills. So we are lucky to be able to source beautiful Chardonnay grapes from some growers that we know. So we use those. A little bit goes into our Rosé Reserve. We make a table Chardonnay, and we also make a Blanc de Blanc sparkling. So all of our sparklings are made with the method traditional, which is what we call it here in Australia. It's the most excellent way to make sparkling wine, perfected by the Champenois. So we use only that method for our bubbly. And finally, we're not done yet with fortifieds. We also make a sweet cream apera, which is a sweet sherry style wine. And for that, we use Gruner Veltliner. And we know how great that grape variety is in the hills for making really delicious dry whites, but we don't use it for that. We ask our grower friend to let it stay on the vine for a lot longer to get very ripe, and then we harvest it for our sweet cream apera. It's a very sweet, luscious wine, but it's really crisp and refreshing as well. And it's got all the lovely characters of Gruner, but it's in a different format. So I think that's it. Oh, we also, yeah, that's it. But there's all these, yeah, so it's quite a few table wines. It's 3 sparkling wines and yet 3 fortified wines. And that's quite a lot for 2 little people, doing their own thing. But
Making things with your hands.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you also are a bit of an authority on champagne, right? I think that's not to be undersold in what you bring to the table in that department.
Well, I know.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, well, so I've always loved champagne, as an adult, but I really did have an aha wine moment with champagne, in a different life when I was working behind the scenes in that kind of art world where I was at some fabulous event. I'm pretty sure it was actually hosted by Moët Chandon. And these trays of beautiful wines come past, and I picked one up, and it was, I'm not sure what, it was definitely a vintage champagne, and I sort of had a few sips, and I really did think, like, what is this? It's so good. And so that set me off on the pathway of, a long time ago about finding out more about champagne. And in 2002, I was so lucky to be a winner of the Vin de Champagne Award. And that was an award that had run for very many, many years in Australia. It's an award from the Champenois, from the champagne sector. Australia has a very long relationship and a very, very sort of big consumers of champagne over many, many, many decades. And it was a way of kind of, I don't know, building relationships and growing ambassadors for champagne. So that was, I had a wonderful trip to Champagne. I learned so much about the vineyards, the history, the culture, the making, the challenges, the aspirations, and the beauty of the place. And it just had a huge impact on how, what place I think wine has, in our culture of coming together, enjoying each other's company, and how you can do a business really beautifully. The Champenois are really fantastic at marketing, they're fantastic at making, they're fantastic at growing and looking after, and they're fantastic at respecting tradition as well. So, yeah, so and then for many years after that, I did a lot of wine. Used to do a lot of wine dinners and educational classes, and to this day, I still do every year a sort of champagne masterclass for final year students at the University of Adelaide. That I really enjoy doing. I really love the chance of capturing that group of students who are just finishing their wine training, going out in the world. And I like to have a chance to say, hey, this is, the benchmark for sparkling in the world. You really, yeah, you need to, have a really good look at it, look at, the vineyards, look at their history, look at the knowledge, look at the making. So I'm still enjoying that, but I,
So
a
I
very
think,
humble expert. I'm not an expert. I'm
but
just learning.
you are, and
I'm learning.
that's the expertise and the care and the craftsmanship you bring to
Yeah,
your own.
yeah.
You know.
So,
Well,
but I'm really clear that, um, of course, it's had an impact on how, I and Hilton we go about making our sparkling wines in particular. Um, but to me, it's just really exciting how the Australian sparkling wine sector has grown and developed, and places like the Adelaide Hills have got a big part in that, and I'm just so happy to be a tiny little part of that. But I still love champagne.
I still love champagne too, but I think everyone needs to know how incredible our hills examples are,
Oh,
that can stand
they
on a
are.
world
They
stage
are.
too now. And they're cheaper.
Yeah, and also too, they're really, 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 really good and
Mm,
their own thing. They
mm,
are beautiful Australian sparkling wine. I know, and champagnes, they're beautiful. Is champagne? We're doing our own thing here, it's come into its own.
mm.
What's happening in
Yeah,
Tasmania, the Adelaide Hills, other
yeah,
regions in Australia, they've all sort of elevated, and
yeah.
it's fantastic.
I agree. If you're a bubbles lover, you can't go wrong now.
No, you're very well served.
So that segues a little bit into, why do you do what you do? Not just why you started the business, but what's in your heart for why you
Yeah.
do what you do.
Well, I think I was talking to some people about that the other day. I think I didn't realize it until many years ago, but I'm a wine person. And perhaps it's my European background or something. So, I have a great love of wine, but also a respect of it. And very much an advocate more than ever these days of mindful consumption and listening to what's happening in the world about wine and alcohol in particular. But it's always been something that's really interested me. Um, and I guess, it is the history, the sort of cultural presence that wine's had, and the role it plays in people coming together and people relaxing together, people sharing something. Also, it's the preservative role. Like I've often think coming out of vintage every year, you just think, phew, those grapes were great for on the vine. After all that effort of a year, they're really nice on the vine for a week or so, depending on what product you want to make from them. That's it. So your window of opportunity is very limited. Then
Mm,
if you don't stuff it up and do something really good, you've got something that can be beautiful in the bottle and enjoyed for many, many years to come. I mean, we're still
mm,
enjoying and getting great feedback about the reds we made in 2007.
mm,
I mean, it's not a quarter of a, it's not half a century ago, but it's many, many years. And that
mm.
aspect of preservation of something beautiful that nature's created for enjoyment in the future, I think there's something important there. I don't know how else to articulate it really, but it's a value, I think, a value of the
Yeah.
sunlight, the water, the soil, all that energy, to not see it just spent and gone. It sort of carries on.
I think it's also it's the tradition of humanity, isn't it? Like we've been doing things like this forever and we're going to be doing them forever, no matter what new things happen. And for some
Yeah,
of us, there's incredible comfort in that,
I think there is. Yeah. And
Mm,
it is something that's so easily shared, like an open bottle of wine. You can have a tiny bit, you can share it with your friends. I don't know, it's a communal thing.
mm,
Yeah. So,
yeah, I
hmm.
love that. So, just coming to talking about telling your story and, coming onto digital platforms or any place you're having to tell your story for your business, do you think have been your biggest challenges in finding your comfort with this?
Oh, yes, it's a good question, Jess. And I have given this some thought. But I think, it's a bit trite to sort of say it, but I will. We're small and very hands-on in what we do. So, I'll be out there shortly. I'm the main pruner of my beloved vines. We're the kind of hands-on main. We don't do the picking ourselves unless we absolutely have to. So we're always very hands-on business. We're doing all the winemaking. We're doing all the a lot of the work in the vineyard we'll be doing or closely directing. We're also doing all the admin and the running that's always part of a small business. So I think that wrongly, I think the storytelling has been happening around the edges, or, you sort of try and find some moments. And so that's something I'm trying to address this year with the work I'm doing with you in the HeartFelt Story Circle. I think that's really important to, I don't know, reposition the time that requires to do it well and consistently. Get it up the priority list. The other challenge for us, I think, and perhaps more so for me, because I'm probably doing it more, is the business is very personal. And so the challenge there is to, I don't know, it's finding comfort in leaning in when you need to. And it's finding that balance between professionalism and authenticity, not being too salesy, not being too woolly. It's that challenge about it feeling very close, because guess what it is? We actually live right next door to our vineyard. We live and breathe our business, and we've got lots of other interests, but our wine business is very central. So you have to be careful sometimes not feeling too vulnerable about that, because it's you can't just sort of walk away from it. I don't know whether that makes sense, but it
No,
is.
I think that's a very common pain point people have, that it feels incredibly personal, and it feels like you're absolutely exposing yourself by being online or by telling the story of your business, and you're exposing yourself to what others might think, and it's all tied up in that. And it's a bit of a process, isn't it, in unpacking that, and starting to understand that it's your business, and your business kind of has its own persona. It's totally, informed by you and Hilton, but it kind of has its own persona. And when you can sort of step back a little bit from that and be able to go, well, this is about the business. This actually isn't about me. But it is so hard because it's such a process of learning that, and it's so visible in a way that we haven't been used to this being visible ever before, really, in marketing our businesses. So it's a process of real personal realization in order to be able to tell the story. So it's understandable that that's how it would feel. But I don't think people go into it realizing that. They just go into it thinking it's just something I should do, something I have to do, something I need to do to sell, not realizing that it's not a great sales channel, it's a great visibility channel, and that it's going to feel really vulnerable being there.
Yeah. And I think the other challenge really is that I think wine's it's a very sort of layered, complicated thing. It's a beverage, but it's
not the $20 bottle on the shelf. People assume it is.
But for such a kind of, Hilton and I are so enthusiastic about wine, I feel like sometimes we have to sort of be careful, like rein it back a bit, because you don't want to overwhelm people with our nerdiness or our enthusiasm, but because you want it to be fun and inviting and meaningful and no pressure. And so getting that balance right. It's all about a balance, really. But no, by far the biggest challenge is making the time and finding your comfort in it.
Yeah. I think that's such a common thread. And we talk about making the time a lot too, don't we? It's just that we have to. It sucks. It doesn't just happen. It doesn't just fall out of the sky. We've got to sort of scaffold the time. But once you start to learn that, it starts to feel a bit easier. So we talk about intuition a lot in the Heartfelt Story Circle because social media is not just this strategic action. It just isn't, you know, and I think that's probably what's different about the Heartfelt Story Circle approach is I'm really trying to make it a more holistic experience. You know, does your intuition come to play, and have there been times when you've really gone, that was my intuition? If you look back, you know, I really did that as a result of my intuition nudging me. Or are there times you haven't listened to it and you know now that you haven't?
Both.
Yeah.
I think that, you know how I sort of said before about our ridiculous portfolio of wines. I'm thrilled about the portfolio. I love it because but a lot of that was my intuition, and and I think that if I'd been, you know, strict with myself, saying no, don't do that, like, you know, what a ridiculous way to make a decision, you know, walking into someone's vineyard who couldn't sell all of their Gruner and noticing how gorgeous it smelt, and then thinking, and then pitching it to Hilton, we could do this, we could do that, you know, and it's now we've got this Solera, you know, it's just, but it was a thing, and I thought, no, there's some magic there. So yeah, but there are times when I think that my intuition has been telling me something, and it's landed into that space where I can understand what it's telling me too late, and I've gone down and I've just recently had I'm probably really experiencing a situation like that at the moment where I think I really wish I had listened to my intuition and approached this thing that I'm now doing in that way. But that's how you learn, I guess. And I think it's about learning to listen more and then learning to trust more what you're hearing. So I'm decided I'm not going to give myself too hard a time about the one I think, oh, you know, you should have listened. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think it's
I so
important.
agree.
Yeah, and that's what I love about what we do with you. I really get a lot out of, I think, what you would call the more woo. I get heaps out of it because it's just input from somewhere else, and it's valid, and it's amazing how it resonates.
Mm.
So yeah.
And how synchronistic and sensical it is. That's the
Mm.
thing I think is always so incredible, is that, you know, I have a Virgo brain, so I need things to fit in a certain framework and a pattern, and often I'll go, you know, like you guys with the cards readings, I'll go, really? That what? Okay. It's just, but they're tools that help the intuitive nudges. And I agree. I think it's the process of listening to your intuition or listening to your gut, however you want to phrase this,
Yeah.
is so important when you're running your own heart-led business. Like you can
Yeah.
hear your choice there. You're very passion-led. And the fact is, no matter what, that is going to come across in that product.
Mm.
You know, like Water for Chocolate. Do you remember that
Mm.
movie or that book
Yeah.
where she would cry into the recipe and then the whole wedding was crying? The fact is, people feel our energy in things. They just do. There's a reason
Mm.
why some things feel good to us and some things don't. And
Mm.
yeah, I think I love that because it just demonstrates your passion for what you're doing. You know, you're doing it from a real place always, not for a trend.
Oh no. And it's like
Yeah.
I think for me, I'm always looking for where's the flow. You know, I'd love to get in the flow more, and that kind of that sense about the life force. And I think that when I switch on more to what,
Mm.
you know, those deeper thoughts, you do tend to find something that's more real, and it's got more life to it, and it's more in harmony with perhaps nature and perhaps what you're doing. But yeah,
Yeah, and your nervous system probably, yes.
probably, yeah, yeah.
Actually, that brings us to the next question that I have for you is what's your
Yes.
favorite takeout or aha from the Heartfelt Story Circle so far? That's probably segues well into that.
I think it's how much I think it's that there are tools that I can learn, but
Mm.
the bigger learning is how to work with um, what's innately in me, given that I've found this lifestyle, this business that is my home. How do I grow with it? And so I've found that with the work that I'm doing with you and the group, that it's a multifaceted thing. It's not, maybe a while ago I might have thought, I really need to know how to do reels really well. That's not a big part of it, actually. It's about, what you really need to do well is work out how you want to be in your business and what you're aspiring to, and then how you can kind of sift through and pick and choose what tools you need, what proficiencies you need to grow. And I certainly need to grow quite a few proficiencies, but it's a whole package is the takeout for me. It's the whole, it's working on the whole package.
Mm.
And I didn't realize how important that was. So I think this year has ended up being so much more of a kind of growth year in terms of what I'm learning. And I think it's going to set us up well for many years to come.
Yeah.
Whatever the pathway is.
Yeah. And allow you to see a way to be you,
Mm,
that's totally okay. That's actually what I say is what's good for you is good for your business. So
mm,
it's actually bloody excellent for your business too.
mm,
But
mm,
the more important thing is you be you, and the technology comes. That'll all come once you
mm,
find your comfort with your story and
mm,
connecting your heart to what's on the page.
mm,
You do. Your words are very beautifully heart-led words. It's just that thing of feeling that it's okay to do more of that.
mm,
Actually okay for my business to do this. It's good for my business to do.
mm,
Yeah.
mm. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
been, so there's no, yeah, like I didn't suddenly think, oh, it's great, I know how to do this. It's just more about, I'm on a really good pathway. That's the thing. I'm on a good pathway. And, it isn't always completely uncomfortable. So I think, oh, why can't I be more consistent? But I know that'll come. So perhaps the biggest takeout so far is a quieter confidence about it'll come.
I
It'll
love
come.
that. That's
It's
amazing.
a
Yeah.
quiet confidence,
Yeah.
which suits me. Yeah.
And I think that comes also because you're more connected to why you're doing it. You start to feel
Yeah.
it's like you're more connected to spirit almost.
Mm.
It's like you just become calmer about it because there's a deeper reason why you're here doing it.
Yeah. That's
Just
the
a
thing. I
great
think,
gift.
yeah, I think before I worked with you this year, I think I thought I knew why I was doing what I was doing. And I thought I knew what I was doing. But I didn't know back then as much as I know now. And that knowledge is power because it
Mm,
helps you prioritize what you need and where you should be putting your energies.
yeah,
That
totally. Yeah.
yeah, that clarity, I guess, is the
Mm,
word.
love that. Thank you. To finish off, can
Hmm.
you tell people how they can buy your wines, where they can buy it, and how they can
Yes.
interact with you?
Yes. So they can buy our wines from our online shop. They can go to our website and see what we're up to. And we actually are unusual. We have our contact details, our phone numbers on our website. And we welcome people ringing us, and people do. And we're very happy to take phone calls. We haven't found it spammy or bad.
Mm.
We want to be accessible. So we have our wines out and about in a lot of different like little bottle shops. We have a tiny little trickle of wine into some of the bigger Dan Murphy stores. Mainly our fancy rosé, our dry, table rosé, and a Shiraz and Pinot wine. So not a lot, but it's there. There's a lot of the independent retailers sell our wines. We're out and about in different restaurants, and one of the things I'm going to do with our website is list where all those spots are. But that's the main way, I think. We actually try and do a lot of pop-up events. So, we'll usually do like one or two things at the National Wine Centre. We hope we'll be doing, there's a lovely event around fortified wines that we'll be doing again this year. So we get out and about as much as we can as well for two people. So yeah, but it really, and also my Instagram. So
which is just at Honey Moon Vineyard, isn't it?
At Honey Moon Vineyard, and the website is honeymoonvineyard.com.au.
And you get to see a real insight into your lovely site and your
do.
fine babies there.
Yes.
Thank you, Jane. I wanted to finish up with an intention card draw, and I don't want you to fall off your chair in shock about this one.
It's not connect to convert, is it? Ah, again. Connection convert again and
I kid you
again
not.
and
I
again.
kid you not. That was the card I drew. And just to give everyone that's listening a little bit of context, Jane brought up in our June planning call this week that she uses the cards a lot, and every single card draw she's had pretty much over the last month, is that right? Or the last couple of weeks, in connection converts. So what does that mean to you, Jane? I think that's
it means I've got to get back and get my newsletters out, so I can talk to because what I didn't say was, we've got a private customer database, which sounds like a terrible, I need a kind of really groovy name to call it. But we look after the people on that, and we have done so for many, many years. And I've been a bit remiss not, getting out to them, because I wanted to have the website refresh. Well, that hasn't happened yet. So I just need to do it.
I think that's what that's also saying to you. Remember, good enough is good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's connection that converts.
Yeah.
So, and that it's good being you. It's good. It's giving you an affirmation over and over and over. Don't worry, it's good to be you.
Is that the only card in the deck? Come on.
Oh, that is, I kid you not, that's the card I pulled out. That's why I knew you were going to go, oh my God. No, the cards are magical. I don't know why exactly, but they are. Everyone that I've used them just goes, what is with those cards?
They tell it how it is, don't they?
They give you what you need to hear at the time around, marketing your business and telling your story.
But also more broadly, actually, too, I think connection is really important.
Yes, they tap into good general themes, human themes too. Well, thank you very much, Jane, for chatting today, and we'll speak soon.
My pleasure, Jess. I hope it's all okay. Fingers crossed.